2 days, Westminster Abbey's center aisle will become the center of the fashion world as Catherine Middleton unveils the most anticipated dress of the decade. The future princess will join a list of royal trendsetters who've influenced brides for centuries. Queen Victoria wore white to her wedding in 1840, setting the standard for nearly every bride who followed. And images of Princess Diana's 25-foot train cascading down the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral inspired designers for decades. Even now, before any of us has had a glimpse of Kate on her big day, dresses influenced by the royal wedding and princesses are already being created. And here to introduce us to some of those trends is Julie Raimondi. She's editor-in-chief of brides.com. Great to have you with us here in London this morning. And these are some of, you just wrapped up the bridal show for 2012, basically. These are the latest trends for next year, and we really are seeing some sort of a princess inspiration.
Absolutely. So we do Bridal Fashion Week a couple times a year, and this April, just a couple weeks ago, we saw the royal wedding really influencing the drama and excitement on the runways.
Which we love. So we'll start off with our first example of that, which is a Cinderella ball gown.
It's literally called the Cinderella ball gown by Alfred Angelo. I mean, I think this is the dress that people think of when they hear the word princess.
Oh, it's stunning.
And, you know, tulle skirts are definitely back in a big way. We saw them all over the runways, but it's the effect is light and airy, unlike the heavy satin we saw in Diana's time. Now we're doing things more light and airy. And what's cool about this dress is these angled cuts in the tulle, so you can still get down the hall.
It's modern too, which is nice.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
You can still dance in that.
We love to be able to dance. Beth looks beautiful in it. Up next, hats. We've talked so much about hats since we've been here in London, especially for Americans. This is such a fun idea to think of adding this to your wedding day.
Exactly. I really think if there's one fashion takeaway from the royal wedding, it's gotta be the hats. I mean, I think women love wearing hats, and watching all of the British wedding guests, and even Kate herself with these hats on, reminded Americans how cool and fun they were. So I want to, you know, empower women to put on a hat and have a good time, but you gotta do it with a really sleek, gorgeously structured gown.
And that is just a beautiful dress because it is so sleek, but yet it has that nice A-line, which can be, you know, can offer more women the option of wearing it because it's a little bit more flattering. And hats on the bride, too, we're pointing out here, not just on the guests.
Exactly. No, we've been seeing more fascinators, more bigger, more dramatic headwear in the last year as well, which has not been the case for a long time, but you know, you have to pair that with something sleek. This gown's by Junko Yoshikoba.
It's beautiful. Up next, embellishments. We saw a little bit of embellishment on the first Cinderella ball gown, but this is even a little bit more.
Oh yes, oh yes. The designers are doing all-out drama, and I really believe that's inspired by the royal wedding. That's what I think designers in America think of when they think of a royal wedding. There's not an inch without something going on here. We've got beading, we've got embroidery, we've got a ruffled silk organza bottom that's just glorious, but you can still see her shape. And that's really important in a gown like this. You know, I think some people learned the lesson of seeing Diana in that big, voluminous gown. You couldn't really...
It kind of swallowed her up, didn't it?
It kind of did, and I'm sure Kate will have seen that lesson. We will be able to decipher human form, I believe.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about this, too, is the embellishment, the beading that you have. It actually creates this beautiful, soft line on her, just following those curves so gracefully. It's really lovely. So that's Amaya wearing that gorgeous dress. Up next, Bridget is modeling sleeves. A lot of people saying they expect to see sleeves on Kate Middleton, at least in the Abbey. Maybe they'll come off later, but because of the protocol.
Right. This gown by Ramona Cabeza. Now, sleeves were huge this season. And you probably don't even recognize this as a wedding gown because we've not seen sleeves on a wedding gown in probably decades. But Kate has to have her shoulders covered inside Westminster Abbey. And this is a great way of doing it with a Chantilly lace sleeve.
And it just sort of brings to mind Grace Kelly, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's so Grace Kelly. It's timeless. It's classic. You'll look great in this now. Your daughter would look great in 20 years. Your mother would have looked great in 20 years ago.
I love that. I wish that would have been around when I got married. Not that I didn't like my dress, but those sleeves are so beautiful, especially with this trend of showing your arms for women who may not be comfortable doing it. It's a tasteful way to show a little bit of skin, but still feel more comfortable on the day. Finally, we talked about Diana's grand train. Now, we have a grand train here as well, although about half the length of Diana's.
Right. This one is 12 foot, so this is a cathedral length train. And this is all silk organza that's been it's actually, if you look close, you can see it's sewn in floral patterns. And she's got a sheared tulle top. And so it has a very romantic feel, but you've got exposed seams on the corset that makes it a little bit more modern.
It's just, they're all stunning. And to see all 5 of you lined up here, you all look beautiful. And what an incredible backdrop to have this happen. Of course, here at one of the historic palaces in London. What do you have a favorite trend out of all of these?
I gotta say sleeves.
Yeah?
Sleeves. Sleeves. It's just been so long, and I think there are so many, mostly because there's so many brides that don't want strapless but have a hard time finding something they love that's not strapless. So this market, that was one of my favorite trends.
I notice I don't see any veil. I see one veil sort of on the back of our beautiful Grace Kelly inspired bride with sleeves. But are veils still as popular as they were?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think that a bride really feels like a bride until they put that veil on. Now, they might not keep it on for the entire night, but that's when they all cry. That's the moment when they go, oh my God, I'm getting married.
When they put on the veil.
Absolutely.
And I do love the headpiece. We're fascinated by fascinators here on the early show.
Yes.
Do you think that we will see any more tiaras? Because
absolutely.
Speculation is Kate will have one on.
Whether she does or she doesn't, designers are into tiaras. And that's what I mean about all of these things coming up before the wedding. It's anticipation of the new princess.
It's great. We love it. Thanks so much for bringing them to us. Good to have you with us,
Thank
Julie.
you.
Again, Julie Raimondi from brides.com.